Hi Stampers, it's Lisa. Welcome to another live. We're on a Thursday, so we're doing a Stamping Made Simple, and we're going to make this adorable fun fold card, and I can't wait to show you how it's done. So let's get started. Okay, here is our card. It's using the Autumn Toile Designer Series Paper from Stampin' Up. You might remember, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, we had some toile paper that was Christmas themed. And this year they're doing something very similar, only it is fall themed. So we have some fall themes on the front and then something, basic on the back. I absolutely love this one with the pumpkins. You can tell I've got little pieces of it because I've been using it so much. I think it's just adorable. But this is the packet we're using today. And we're going to start out with a early espresso card base. And so this is 11 inches by 5.5. And then we're going to score that at 3 inches and 6 3/4. Okay, we're going to make the 3-inch a mountain fold and the other one a valley fold. So when it's all folded up, that's going to give us our 4 1/4 by 5.5. Now, in order to get that angle, what I wanted to do was come over here and measure over 3 inches. And I'm going to make a little mark on the side here. So I'm coming up 3 inches from the bottom, and I made a little tick mark with my pencil. Okay, and then I'm going to lay this in the trimmer, and I'm going to have this go from the upper point over here on the right down to that little mark. And so it's going to do a diagonal cut all the way across. Okay, so I just removed this section. This way. Okay, so I just took this off. So I went 3 inches up from the bottom and cut all the way across to this faraway tip. Hi, Laura. Good to see you. Okay, so there is our base. You can see I'm burnishing it with the bone folder, which doesn't seem like it does much. Like, you look at this little tool and think, how silly, what could that possibly do? But it's amazing how nice and flat it'll make these seams, and it just makes the card that much more flat and more professional looking. But you can also use the tip as a scoring tool as well. And I also will use it for burnishing down when I use tear and tape and those sorts of things. I use the tip of this to kind of just press down and make sure that that tear and tape is good and stuck before I pull off the backing. Okay, for inside the card, I have a 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, and then this one here is, let's see, I have my notes written over here. 3.5 by 4 1/4. Okay, and then we have the front piece over here, and this is 2 3/4 by 3.5. Okay, so that's the way it's going to decorate this way. When it all folds up, we're still going to see this. So I cut an additional piece the same size as our Very Vanilla that's going to go there. And so that, again, is the 3.5 by 4 1/4. And then I've got some strips of Very Vanilla and Cajun Craze to make our sentiment on the front. Now, all of these layers I've cut rectangle, but they need to have that angle at the top. And so I always find that the easiest way to get that angle is to just take and layer it on here. And I'm taking a look at it, and I'm putting this centered in my layer of the early espresso on the bottom. I'm getting my border here, and it's kind of doubled at the bottom, but essentially it's going to be flush with this tip over here. So once I have that there, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to trim from the back side using that angle that's already there as my guide. And we're snipping that off. And so now I'm just going to shift it down a little bit, and that's going to give me my even border all the way around. You know, a lot of videos when I first started doing angles, they would take and measure down a certain distance over here, and that works. I mean, if you wanted to do that, I think this is measuring down 1 inch and then going from that corner to that corner. But I like quick and easy. And quick and easy to me is to just match up that edge with this centered in the middle, and then I'm going to hold it still and just trim from the back. And so we're going to do that on all of these. We're going to just take where the layer is going to go. And I'm lining up the tip over here. I'll make sure it doesn't shift. So oftentimes people will use a little piece of Post-it note or maybe some temporary adhesive. I mean, you could easily take the seal, and I just put a teensy little bit on there. And then when I lay this on here and line all that up, that little bit is going to make it stick there, but it's not going to be so much adhesive that I can't take it off when I'm ready to actually go ahead and adhere it. So see, that's easily going to pop off. But you can buy temporary adhesive. I've seen it at the big box stores, and I often use it when I'm taking pictures of my cards because I need them to stay shut or to, you know, stay in a certain position for my photographs, for my Pinterest and blog posts and all of that. And so I will use a temporary adhesive for that. But if you feel confident and just holding your fingers there works, do that too. Do whatever's going to make you comfortable and make you feel confident in your card making. And if you want it to be quick and easy, free forming it like that is quick and easy. Okay. So once I have it cut at the angles, we can go ahead and lay those down. So how's everybody doing? Who has started their Christmas cards? I know those of us that are card makers, we get into that Christmas season like usually before everybody else does, because we want to give ourselves plenty of time to design our cards and then turn around and make a large bunch of them to mail out to all of our family and friends. Okay. Hopefully that didn't pause anything. My computer just told me it wanted to exit out of the page. No, I don't want to exit out of the page. And then this piece here, if we wanted to go ahead and stamp any kind of sentiment on that, we can go ahead and do that. I actually left mine blank, and then I thought, okay, that's kind of boring. And so I took one of these little angles. This is actually the one from the opposite side. Maybe that one's not. Yeah, it is. This is it. Okay, so this is off the fox side. this was what I cut off of the top. And then I'm just going to turn around and I'm going to adhere it to the bottom over here. I mean, I could use any one of these, you know, and then I could just chop it off from the side. That's going to be upside down, so that won't work. But this one's going to work just fine. But I just found that since I have these little scrap pieces and the chance of my using this on something else was fairly slim because it's kind of little, but it works perfect as this little accent across the bottom. And I used liquid glue so I could kind of wiggle it around and make sure that I am exactly where I want to be. I'm going to come in with the rest of the adhesive and go ahead and put it here. So now I have our base done and it's all decorated. So now we're ready to stamp our sentiment. Okay, and I decided to do a rectangle here with a little flagged end. And remember, this is a Thursday, so we're doing it simple. We're not using any die cuts, although die cuts would work perfect on here. And oftentimes I'll use the hexagon punch, or I will use circles. I mean, there's any number of things you could use as your focal point on the front of here. But with these, what I decided to do was bring in my More Than Autumn stamps, and I'm coordinating with the base. So I'm going to bring in some early espresso ink. And we're going to say, grateful it is finally fall. Okay, a little bit bigger. So I want to remind everybody, you don't have long left to register for my class. I'm doing an online class. We will be meeting on November 1st, which is a Saturday. And Diane Evans from Canada and I will be alternating going live on Zoom. If you can't join us live, of course, the sessions will be recorded, so you can view them in the Facebook group on YouTube and catch up after the fact. I will be cutting out all of the pieces and mailing them to you for all of the cards for free. All you need to do is buy the bundle and the designer series paper we will be using for the class, which is the North Pole delivery paper and the Jolly delivery stamp set. We're going to make some adorable cards. Of course, they're fun folds for me, so we're going to be doing some adorable fun folds. This one's got those pillars on the front, so it's kind of a window, and then it opens up. And then this one here is a gift card holder. And then Diane is doing a shaker card and a sliding one. There's just adorable cards. She's really great with the interactive cards, whereas I love to do fun folds. So it's going to be a really good combination. If you already have that designer series paper and bundle, all you would need to do is place an order of equal value. And then you get that class for free. So rather than it costing you like $59, you just buy your bundle and you're good to go. Okay, so I've got these two. So this one here was, I guess I cut them both at 4 inches, and this is 1 inch, and this is 1 1/4. Yeah, 1 1/4. And then I want to, hang on, slipped on me a little bit. I noticed it was a little wide, so I tried to trim it up and it slipped, which is a great reminder because I started out at the bottom because that's just where it was. I went over and I laid my thing down, and when I slid this, it pushed my paper and made it go wonky. So it's always better to line it up on your trimmer and go from top down, because it will hold it based on the lip down here and it won't slip. So just a quick little tip there. Okay, and then this I wanted to flag the end, and we don't really have one of our banner punches right now that will flag the end. So one of the things you could do is we can turn this a little shorter. Let's see. Let's go 3 1/4. Let's see what that does. We can always make it shorter, but I can't add. So at 3 1/4, I can come in and I can just set this in here, and I'm going to flag it that way. If you don't like to do that, because this is an inch across, what we would do is lay it on our grid paper, because each one of these is a 1/4 inch. So we would come in and find the middle. So we're halfway across, which is 1/2 of an inch. And then you would come down 1/2 of an inch. So then you would flag by doing your snips and cutting from there to there and there to there. And that's going to give you a perfectly flagged end. Or what we can do is we can take this and we can just set it in there and punch the end like that. Okay. So again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to set this in here. Let's find the middle just for giggles. Okay. So I want to make sure that my middle is right above the divot down here. And then I can line this up. And there we have our flagged end. And then I wanted to have a little bit of excess over here at the end. So I'm going to lay that in my trimmer and just trim off the end. And then we'll center that in there. So that's how I use the hexagon punch to actually flag the ends on our strips. So whichever way you're more comfortable with, if you want to measure it and do it with the snips, or you like the way I did it with the hexagon, both work. Okay, so when I put this on here, it looks adorable just like it is, but I thought I wanted a little extra something from behind it. And so I decided to use the linen thread. We have some linen thread in Old Olive and Early Espresso. I love the linen thread because it is nice and thin, and it makes for a really great ribbon or twine on the front of a card without adding any extra bulk. And so it doesn't cost me extra for postage or anything like that. And I just wanted it to swirl on the back. So what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of adhesive down, and then I'm going to lay my twine, and then I'm going to kind of curve it at the bottom. And I will often kind of untwist it a little bit so it doesn't have too much twist to it. But I'm going to have it go that way and then come back this way. And so I just wanted it to have 2 loops on either side for a little bit of, contrast. And then I'm going to have the extra piece, since the first extra piece came out at the top, I'm going to do my second one to come out at the bottom. Okay, now if I wanted to make sure it was going to stay open like that, I think what I'm going to do is come in with a little bit of tear and tape just to hold it in place. And because I'm just using it as placement holder, I don't want to take off the backing. I'm going to leave the backing on and just kind of make it come out where I wanted. And that's probably not necessary. It'll probably, once I got it stuck to the card, it would probably stay there just fine. But adding that little bit of extra tape just gives me that little bit of extra insurance that it will stay where I want it to stay. And now I'm going to pop it up on dimensionals before I adhere it to the card. Now with the twine, it really doesn't make much difference. But if I was doing this kind of thing with ribbon, which I totally could, the fact that we're using dimensionals is giving it a little bit of extra room that allows the ribbon to go back and forth and have that little bit of bulk in the middle and not have it visible from the front of our card. So then that just goes down on the front. And I happen to have some leftover gold sequins that are adhesive backed. Now, we don't have adhesive backed right now. We have loose ones. And with the loose ones, what I would do is pick out the larger ones and then just set them down onto the mini glue dots. And then you would just create a strip of them, put several of them on there. And then you have essentially the same thing. You would then have adhesive backed sequins. And then you remember you want to put these on your card in odd numbers. There's something about the visual effects where odd numbers are a good thing, art-wise. And there we go. There is our angled stand-up card using the Autumn Toile and our More Than Autumn stamp set. Now, the dies to this are retiring, and so they're on that last chance list, and they're going to be selling out quickly. But the stamp set is actually sticking around. There were a couple of things like that I thought was kind of odd, that we're keeping the stamp set, but the dies are retiring. The Impressionable Blooms is the other one that I was kind of shocked with, because it's got those large ovals, which I really liked. I mean, you know me and basic shapes. Why would they get rid of basic shapes and keep the stamp set? But they are. Okay, on Monday, I've already got that one scheduled. You should be able to look on YouTube, and there's going to be that little thing where you can ask for a reminder when I go live. But we're going to be doing the expanding Z-fold card. And so I'm using the traditional labels for our stamp set. And then we're using Elegant Pine Snowflakes is the designer series paper we're using for this one. So this will be our card on Monday. So hopefully you come back and check it out. So thank you for everyone for being with me and sticking it out and playing around with stamps, ink, and paper to make a really fun fold card. And again, if you want information on the Join special that's going on right now, which is awesome, For $35, you can get $125 worth of product and have a discount through the end of April of next year and get in on the pre-order for the January catalog, the catalog that comes out in May. I mean, there are so many fabulous opportunities to enjoy your discount while that special is going on. So please let me know if you would like to join our Creative Royalty team. We would love to have you. It's $90 in free product and like almost no commitment to it at all. If you go and you buy the kit and then you never buy again, you're good. If you buy the kit and you decide you want to make some extra money, I can help you do that too. So let me know. I would be more than happy to help. Other than that, I will see you back here on Monday for our expanding Z-fold card. Thanks so much. Bye.